Hey guys, this is Noisy Boy 305 bringing it to you loud and proud. I just want to do a quick video on tips for beginners on starting a new character. Now for people who have just come into this and don't really know much about the game, this tip is for you. Now before I get started, I just want to make a big shout out to 4NZ Gamers, the Books Brothers and Jimbo. You guys rock and roll, man. Now in this screen here I'm kind of picking my class or race that I want to use for a class. Now my first tip for starting a new character is pick a race that goes with that class. Now in ESO you can do whatever you want, do anything you want to do, however you want to do it. But if you don't know much about this game or you don't know anything at all about this game, this is just a quick tip for you. Now when I say pick a race that goes with a certain class, for example I mean stuff like picking a high elf who has high destruction skills and high destruction passives. Now usually with a destruction staff as well, high elves tend to level their destruction staffs quicker than most classes, so that's just a little tip there. It's not a must do, but it's just, like I said before, it's just for someone who's just starting out now. And if you don't know, well, what class goes with what race, you can always go to daltiersgaming.com. He explains all the races and classes all in a nutshell, so that should be good if you're confused. But of course you can always just mix and match, pick to your liking. If you're confident you can do this, just do it. This is what ESO is all about: diversity, variety. It's all good to be different. My second tip would be looting and stealing. Now looting is just when you go up to a cabinet, a table, whatever, opening it up and then taking whatever inside. Now looting can, when you go into a cabinet or a side table, something like that, and open it up and take that item, you could sell that for gold, for even $1. But at the same time, ESO have made it so that when you go into a cabinet or a table or whatever and steal something, it could be anything. It could be a blue rating item, it could be an epic rating item which is purple, it could be anything. So loot everything you find and steal as much as you can. As you can see here, I'm just going around to all barrels and everything and just checking everything. It might sound like, oh well, why should I do that, you know, but you'll be surprised what you'll find just sitting in a crate, sitting in a barrel. You'll be very surprised what you can find sometimes. And you don't have to keep it, you can just sell it off if you have to. So that's just my second tip right there. Also reading books and bookshelves. Yes, reading, who would have thought of it? Reading actually helps you in this game. So for every bookshelf you find, whether you're just in a quest or just checking out any place at all, houses, guilds, anything, if there is a bookshelf in there, have a look at it. You never know what you can learn. Keep trying that. Third tip for me would be joining all the guilds. Now the guilds in ESO are the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild and the Undaunted. Now the reason why I'm saying to join these guilds at the beginning of the game, right after your tutorial's finished, is because even just joining these guilds will give you experience points and sometimes skill points. Now that will come in handy when you're leveling up your guy. Now the reason why joining these guilds is so important isn't just because of the side quests and the guild missions that you'll get from joining these guys. The main reason why I think you guys should join these guilds at the beginning of the game is because of the merchants in the fighters and the mages guilds. Now what happens is these guild members in here, the merchants, what they do, they sell weapons at your level, and even when you get higher in level, they sell them at your level. Now when you buy these weapons, if you notice that when you buy them, they have training infused into it. Now what the training does is it levels up that particular weapon at a certain amount of rate. Like I think bows up, I think they experience a buff in leveling by, I think it's 98%, and I think weapons like shield and sword and all those other kind of ones do 49%. 49%, that's massive amount of experience just to gain just by buying weapons from the merchants here. As you can see here, the armsman, if you go into that one, you'll see that when you pick a weapon, it will tell you what's infused into the weapon. So as you can see here, the armsman in the guild, and if you have a look at the staffs and the swords, it says just underneath the stats what's infused into it, and in this particular case it's training. Now look at that experience, 98%, 49%, those are massive numbers right at the beginning of the game. This is why I think it's a good idea to buy weapons from your guild merchants, only just because it will level up your skills faster. Now I think this is a very important tip, and I hope you take this one on board. And my last point is the skill points. Now this tip, I reckon, if you can, well, what I would suggest is putting at least 1 point into each of your skill trees or skill levels that you want to use. For example, there's a destruction staff, heavy armor, whatever you choose to pick. When you're first starting off and you're putting your skill points in, you got to be smart with what you want to do. But don't fret, because you can chop and change later on in the game if you think you've put one at the wrong place. Now usually what I suggest is just putting it in your class missions just to start with. One of each, as you can see here. I'm putting one in Fiery Grip, and Ardent Flame, and Draconic Power, and Earthen Peak. This is just to say that you don't have to use these abilities, so to speak, but if the more you use them, the higher it levels up. So as you can see here, I've just been putting some in those ones just to start with. I've only got 3 points, but you know, if you follow these tips, you should have a fair whack of points by the time you get to level 7, 8, 9, and it'll just be something that's just a lot easier, just makes your experience a lot finer. And you know, like I said, this is just for beginners, so hopefully this did help, and if it did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and as always guys, stay noisy.